Hello and welcome to What's Next. It's the Indy NXT Oval Series here from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Magic Mile as it's known here in the northeast of the United States. Well, Loudon, as I believe it's referred to as, is the city location for it. And we've got ourselves another 1 mile track here, a flat 1 mile track at that here in the American Northeast, Sophie. And what do you think we're in for here? Are we going to see something maybe a bit similar to what we saw at Milwaukee just a couple weeks ago?
I think for sure, Jacob, as you can already see with the cars circulating on the track, there's a variety of lines you can take around this 1 mile oval. The track itself is steeped in American open wheel lore. Greats like Nigel Mansell have won here. Also steeped in some silly lore like the last time, the infamous 2011 race where it rained and Will Power gave his signature double bird salute. So I think we're going to be in for a fast and frantic evening, Jacob.
Yeah, certainly going to be a very high-speed event. Drivers basically on the edge of full throttle for the majority of the lap, if not all of it. We're going to walk out with Taylor Thurman for qualifying here, as we've got the camera on him here. We'll see what he gets up to for his qualifying effort here tonight. Working down the back straightaway here from New Hampshire, getting warmed up, doing a bit of weaving to get those tires up to temperature. We'll see what he's got for his qualifying run here tonight. He's the number 9 machine. 18 cars have made their way to New Hampshire here. We've got everybody who opted to sign up for this slot here tonight. So going to be another single split, much like we saw last week at Lucas Oil Strength of Field 2,600 on that one. We've got celebrities in here. The likes of Nick Neben has decided to join us. He'll be our 3 car tonight. We'll likely get a YouTube video out of this one for him. So you'll get another POV of this one later on in the week once he gets that one on his YouTube channel. But Indy Kirchenbauer shoots to the provisional pole, 24.417. See if anybody can challenge that time. Obviously, Dylan Vilashinsky yet to set a time. We'll see what he gets up to. Taylor Thurman currently sits 5th.
Yeah, Jacob, one thing I wanted to note is, even though this is a fixed setup series, the drivers can adjust the roll bars here, and getting the roll bar adjustments right is kind of critical for getting the car to rotate around this flat track and allow you to keep as much throttle in it as possible, which is really where the lap time comes in. Unfortunately, in Q, as we see Jarrett Corey going purple, and currently setting the pole time, is whoever can get those tires up to temperature quickly to set in that purple lap that we saw Corey just lay down.
Yeah, Corey currently sits on a 24.008, so likely going to have to break into the 23-second bracket in order to hit the pole here tonight. We'll see if Vilashinsky here can do it. He's set his first lap so far, 24.601, good enough for 12th as it stands. Likely looking to make this second lap a bit quicker here. He'll fire it off into turns 3 and 4 here, and we'll see what he lays down here late in the going of qualifying here. Off turn number 4. Not quite enough.
Not good enough from the championship leader. Vilashinsky's going to be lining off 3rd, Jacob.
Yeah, looks like we're going to have the top 3 separated by under 1/10 of a second. Top 4 separated by just 1. And if we go all the way back to 6th, just over 1/10 back to Ryan A. Brown in the 6th spot. 103 thousandths if we want to get super crazy with the conversion on that one. But we'll watch Vilashinsky pull off into the pit lane here as he concludes his cooldown lap here from New Hampshire. And this track, obviously, very much a paperclip style oval. Obviously, the straightaways are a bit longer than the corners around here, but that makes it very tricky to navigate, especially as you load up the car midway through the corner. It would not be entirely surprising to see a couple drivers maybe get caught out and overload the car, much like we saw at the likes of Myrtle Beach or some of the other tracks that we've seen where drivers are getting up off the corner and just have too much wheel in it and bang into that throttle pedal and send it around spinning here at New Hampshire. Got about a minute left to go. Go ahead, Sophie.
I was going to say, I think a key trouble spot you might notice during the race here is a lot of cars are starting out entering at the high line and kind of trying to square up the corner. I think something that we saw at Milwaukee was people kind of running one line, one corner, running one line, the next corner, and then as someone's trying to set up a pass, they make contact, and I would expect that if there is a trouble spot here, it is people misinterpreting what the cars around them are going to do and running a line in a little unpredictable fashion.
Yeah, given just how many lane choices there are to kind of navigate the track here in the corners, you kind of got lanes all the way from the wall all the way down to the kind of the innermost portion right before you get to the apron. Wouldn't be entirely unseen in the NASCAR side of things. I know in the real world they've gotten to the point in a number of situations where they're actually running the apron in the corners. So a lot of options to pick from, and it's kind of that game of trickery, especially as you get deeper into the field, just how easy and or difficult it is to navigate that situation. You know, the dirty air in these isn't quite as strong as we've seen in the likes of the IndyCar, but it certainly still plays a good factor, especially when you get onto these flatter tracks here like New Hampshire.
Yeah, one thing that we definitely have noticed on the flatter tracks, it's more the exit of the corner that can catch you out versus at a higher bank track like Iowa where the car just snaps. But I do believe we're starting to see the grid form up, Jacob. So do you want to take us through the starting lineup tonight?
Yeah, one pace lap here as we are on a track 1 mile or greater. We got Taylor Thurman fans in the chat once more. Good to see them coming out and rooting on their driver. We're going to get to that starting grid here. As cars begin to line up on the speedway. Get down to the start-finish line. Here's Jarrett Corey. He'll be our pole sitter here tonight with a 24.008. Alongside him will be reigning series champ, the prodigy Indy Kirchenbauer, lining up in the second spot. Dylan Vilashinsky will be good enough for third here tonight. He'll be looking to make up a couple spots here before this one comes to its conclusion. He's the current points leader. Jesse Francisco, we've seen him before. He's back here again into the number 11, lining up fourth. Jason Goodman will line up fifth alongside Ryan A. Brown. These two drivers sport similar cars. They may be in cahoots with one another. Clay Kirchenbauer, he'll line up seventh in the number 7. Luke E. Reed, good to see him back out here in the number 10. He'll line up right there in 8th. John Corrin will line up 9th alongside Nick Dieben in the 10th spot. Taylor Thurman will line up 11th alongside Bryson Haw in the 12th. Caleb Lisley will line up 13th alongside Bill J. Walker in 14th. Brian McGahee will line up 15th in the 15th. Charles Shanks will be 16th. Shane Holstein in 17th. And Derek Ingram, the only car not taking time, not currently on the course, may be opting to start from the pit lane here tonight. And that'll do it for our starting lineup here. And we're going to get rolling relatively quickly, get back up to the front of the field here as we get ready to go from New Hampshire.
Yeah, Jacob, they call this place the Magic Mile, and we're about to see 55 laps of magic as they are entering the back straightaway and into turn number 3, where the pace car will peel off and unleash this field of 19 Dallara IL-15s.
Yeah, 9 rows of 2 will put us with 18 here tonight. Jarrett Corey will be the lead of the group here. He'll get control of the field as the pace car peels off turn number 4 here. He's going to launch right there, kind of right before the restart zone begins. And he'll get underway. We'll see how long it takes for the field to kind of sort themselves out from double file here.
For sure, and one thing we're going to see right away is we start seeing cars spreading out, some running higher up the track, others trying to go low. Feels like the car likes the higher line when the tires are cold, when it's most treacherous, and then you're going to start seeing people run that lower line as they do through 3 and 4.
Yeah, we saw Vilashinsky very quickly make the pass on Kirchenbauer for the second spot. That'll move Indy down to 3rd here. And Vilashinsky's going to be on the hunt here early as he gets these tires up to temp, trying to hunt down Jarrett Corey. As we've seen time and time again, you kind of got to get caught up to these lead cars over the course of a longer run, and the sooner you can get up towards them, the more opportunity you have to potentially make a pass here.
For sure, and it's all about carrying the momentum through these wide, flat corners as we start to see Ryan Brown and Jason Goodman. Goodman was all over the gearbox as they entered into turn number 1, but just didn't have the momentum to pull alongside to kind of send it down there. And had to kind of take it easy, back out of it, and try to reset the run up as Jarrett Corey goes purple.
Yeah, they started alongside each other. They remain 5th and 6th. Filashinsky will go purple this time around, just slightly faster than Corey that time by 24.123 to Corey's 24.176. And we'll see if any of these drivers can start to maybe get a feel for, as these tires come up to temperature, if they can start to bound forward here as the field's single file nose to tail here.
For sure, but we do have some fighting here in the back with John Corwin and Taylor Thurman. Taylor Thurman on the move, trying to look low on that number 8 machine of John Corwin.
Yeah, Thurman, not the strongest qualifying effort here tonight, but if there's anything we've seen out of Taylor in recent weeks is that he's been able to charge his way through the field with relative ease, as we see. I believe that's going to be Jason Goodman come way off the turn 4 while likely trying not to hit it, as Thurman's still looking to the inside here now on Luke Reed.
Yeah, and I want to highlight real quick up back at the front, Dylan Vilashinsky once again just a couple hundredths faster than Jarrett Corey each lap. So it's one thing to catch, one thing to pass, Jacob, but it does seem like we will have a interesting duel between the GOAT of the Indy NXT Road Series and the GOAT of the Indy NXT Oval Series, it seems, duking it out here on the Magic Mile.
Yeah, they finished 1-2 in the race just prior to this one early on in the official series here. So they've certainly got the class of the field so far here tonight as well. We'll see if they can opt to get in a proper battle of Goliath versus Goliath, if you will, in terms of their dominance of both respective Indy NXT series here. Good to see Jarrett back up here on the oval side of things. I know he's trying to get more comfortable going around in circles, but he's certainly shown that he's figured something out here at New Hampshire.
For sure, and he's also been trying his hand at the big car, the Dallara IL-15 as well. He had a quite solid result at Mid-Ohio. So definitely putting the work in is the Luke Mansky driver.
That he is.
It seems actually Vilashinsky is actually falling back and now back into the clutches of the prodigy Indy Kirkenbauer. Sorry to interrupt, Jacob.
No worries. We saw his Luke Mansky Racing Esports teammate last night pick up where Jarrett left off and win another race on the road side of things from Imola's. Indy's going to look to the inside here in 3 and 4. He's going to stay just alongside until corner exit here. He might get a run here before too long on Vilashinsky for the second spot.
Yeah, the hard thing is getting that run. It's so hard to get a good drive off the corner. And so if you're able to run that high line, you have better momentum down the straightaway, but you could potentially lose it on entry by just seeing how low both cars are. Ultimately, when I was running the high line versus the low line, I was losing more time on entry running the high line than I was driving the low line. So be curious to see how this battle shakes out.
Yeah, they've obviously been some of the more dominant forces here on the oval sides of things. There was a point in time in which you had to go back nearly almost a full season, as they both nearly clocked the turn 4 wall on exit there. You had to go back, 3/4 of a season before you had a winner that wasn't Vilashinsky or Kirchenbauer. Of course, that was broken up more recently by Ethan Brown at Iowa just a couple weeks ago. But we still have yet to find a different winner other than that this season. Vilashinsky's cleaned house on the rest of the weeks, as we're in week number 8 here from New Hampshire of our 12-week opening season of 2026 here for the Indy NXT Oval Series. We'll see if we can get ourselves another one here as Corey continues to lead as we work lap 14.
Yeah, and just a little bit further back, we see Jesse Francisco and Ryan A. Brown also running nose to tail. And lurking just behind them is Ryan Brown's teammate, Jason Goodman.
Yeah, these drivers separated by around half a second in total between the three of them. Ryan Brown all over the back of Francisco. We saw Brown make a hefty charge at Lucas Oil last week following an early blunder as he spun off turn number 2, I believe. So we'll see if he can continue that run of form to work his way a bit further up the grid here tonight from New Hampshire.
Yeah, once again, we are seeing how difficult it is to pass here. Having turned some laps in a practice session, Jacob, you're barely coming out of the throttle, so all your momentum is down to your line, how minimum How much are you turning the car? How much are you scrubbing the tires? As we're starting to see Indy Kirkwood once again working the gearbox of the current points leader, Dylan Wilesinski. Oh, Wilesinski hits the wall!
Yeah, we just got on board with Indy as that hit was made on the outside wall off of 4 there. Indy's going to look to the high side here. He looks to have a bit more momentum this time, but we'll see. They're side by side down the back.
Alongside. He is alongside. I wonder if Wilesinski has any damage. It looks like the side pod's still on the car, which is the critical thing. Kirkwood makes the move, capitalizing on that bobble from Wilesinski.
Yeah, that's a costly mistake here, as that's going to put him behind Indy, and now he's now going to have to build the momentum back up, potentially with a little bit of damage. We're not quite sure if that IL-15's in perfect health following that contact. You know, he's made a couple of wall hits with that wall already prior to that, but that seemed to be kind of be the death blow, if you will, in terms of keeping Kirchenbauer behind him.
Yeah, and he dropped 2/10 that lap compared to the lap time run by Kirchenbauer, and 3/10 compared to that run by Jarrett Corey. We have not even hit the halfway point in this race, Jacob. If he has damage, it's going to be a long, long race for Wilesinski.
Speaking of Kirchenbauer, we got Clay making a pass on Taylor Thurman. They get real close off turn number 4. Clay's going to shoot all the way down to the pit wall almost down the front straightaway here. He'll be looking to try to mount this charge back on Thurman here.
Yeah, as they starting to kind of trade lines there. Clay washing up the track. Thurman kind of doing a little mini version of the Indy snake, trying to cut off any draft, any momentum for the father of the prodigy.
And that last time by, lap times have started to stabilize at the front. Corey ran of 24.528. Kirchenbauer of the Indy variety, 24.540. So starting to get a good bit of fall off here. We've seen drivers now about a half second off their fastest times here tonight. So those tires are starting to give way as this run progresses.
For sure, and once again, I want to highlight that Wilesinski was slower than both of the two drivers in front of them. It's possible that he has something wrong with that Get Good Racing machine, as Jesse Francisco has gone faster than Wilesinski that lap. He might soon find himself in the clutches of that 11 machine, that being Wilesinski.
Yeah, so far it's kind of been a bit of a string out here at the front of the field over time. As we see Francisco start to ever so slightly continue to close in on Wilesinski for third here. And this is kind of the first time we've seen Wilesinski struggle at getting to the front. You know, he hasn't qualified on pole every week, but this is the first time we've kind of seen him have a struggle early in the going here, aside from that the races we've seen from him at the likes of the Iowa Speedway, where he just doesn't, he makes a mistake, quite grave ones at that, and you know, it's not super common we see him genuinely struggle on speed here.
I don't want to jinx it because it has been a green flag race here, but Jarrett Corey is starting to eat closer to Nick Nabon, the last running car on track in the 16th place.
And we'll get back to Nick here and see just how close Jarrett is. You see Jarrett just exiting turn 4 as Neben's kind of working his way a good way down the front straightaway here. That's the last car still out on track of the 17 starters tonight. We'll like to point out that Clay Kirchenbauer has made the move on Taylor Thurman for 7th. Bryson Haw has moved up to 10th over Luke Reed. That'll put him at the bottom portion of the top 10, about 2 seconds adrift of John Corwin, who runs in 9th. We'll see if any further movement happens through the rest of the field.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight that Nick Nabon is currently lapping at a 25.7. Jarrett Corey's last lap, 24.5. So he is going to be... There is one Luke Mansky esports machine rapidly arriving at Nick's location.
And another car that's kind of rapidly arriving at another one's location is Francisco on Wilesinski. He's kind of cut this gap down to over 2/10 now over the last couple laps. I think he's maybe found something on the longer run here. Maybe he mounts a charge to work his way onto the podium here before too long.
Yeah, he seems to be matching the pace of Indy Kirchenbauer. And again, looks to be like Vilashinsky maybe starting to recover from that bobble earlier. Last lap was a 24.6 compared to the 24.7s of Francisco was a 24.6, whereas Vilashinsky and Indy Kirchenbauer were running 24.7s. Seems to be that that Vilashinsky maybe has mentally recovered and is starting to clock back in normal laps and keep the Prodigy within his sights.
Yeah, and I think we got to keep in mind that the likes of Kirchenbauer and Vilashinsky were fighting with one another for a sizable portion of the race there. You know, we saw them kind of both clocking the wall off for, trying to do everything they can to build up the momentum. As we see, I believe that's going to be Jason Goodman working on Clay Kirchenbauer for the 6th spot. They're going side by side through turns 1 and 2. Goodman clears off the turn 2 here. Kirchenbauer back to the inside. Seen a lot of maroon, crimson, and white cars here tonight.
Yeah, as up at the front, Jared Curry currently working the outside of Nick Nave on, so he will likely clear the lap car here as he takes a very high line, sweeps around the outside, and ultimately puts that number 3 machine a lap down.
Yeah, and Vilashinsky's caught the back of Kirchenbauer. Not sure if Indy made a mistake there. Last time by was a 10th slower than Vilashinsky. It's going to give kind of 3 cars back under a blanket here as Vilashinsky's going to tuck in a line down the back straightaway here. Indy's holding tough on the upper lanes. We'll see how long this battle continues.
Yeah, you know who is kind of rooting for those two to fight. That is Jarrett Corey. As Vilashinsky sends it underneath the Prodigy, trying to get the drive off the corner. Doesn't quite have it, but he's going to have draft help from the lapped car. He might be able to just send it there. Once again, he's running that lane up from the lapped car, but Indy has the line. Gets to live to fight another day in that P2 position. As all 3 cars trying to navigate around the lapper.
Now Vilashinsky will look to the inside. Big lunge here into turn 3.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like he's able to get the drive off the corner to really seal the deal, Jacob. Those older Firestone tires not quite getting the grip that they want, as Francisco is now also looking underneath Vilashinsky. As much as Vilashinsky wants to look forward, look for a pass on Kirchenbauer, he has to watch his mirrors, has to watch what the car behind him is doing, because he also has a car right up the gearbox of that IL-15. Oh, Francisco clocks the wall hard.
Yeah, you could see just off in the distance there as well, the 2 similarly painted cars. Not quite sure if they're teammates between Brown and Goodman going at it for the 5th spot. They're back at it again as Goodman's had to make the pass back on Clay Kirchenbauer at a point in time. So battles brewing here throughout the top 5 here. We'll see if anybody's able to make some progress as we start to continue to hit lap traffic, as I believe that'll be Shane Holstein going 1 down from Jarrett Corey ahead there.
Yeah, and it's going to be unnerving every time you're around one of those lap cars if you're Jarrett Corey. For one thing, you don't want to get caught up in one of their mistakes or misread a situation, but also you really want to pray it stays green, pray that nothing happens, because Jarrett Corey is checked out. He is gone.
Yeah, and that just kind of comes with the territory of being able to control these races from the get-go, right? As you get the opportunity to kind of launch as you please. As soon as that pace car pulls in, it's fair game for drivers to hit the loud pedal and get rolling. So certainly a huge advantage there, and he was able to capitalize on kind of these 2 cars behind him, and Kirchenbauer and Vilashinsky fighting for the opening portion of this race as we're working into the final third of it now.
Yeah, there is only roughly 15 laps to go for Kirchenbauer to try and hang on to second place and for Vilashinsky to try and take it. As Kirchenbauer is asking for Shane to stay low, and he jumps on the binders to pull low. Kirchenbauer nearly running him over as Vilashinsky goes to try and take advantage of that miscue. Looks like he has cleared the Prodigy. Vilashinsky back into second place. He tucks low to try and block off any attempt at a repass as Kirchenbauer works the high side, trying to build the momentum, trying to stay up there, stay on the high side, possibly try and take the position back. At the line, it's going to be Kirchenbauer. This is an excellent battle, isn't it, Jacob?
Yeah, certainly seems to be the case. Goodman's made it past Brown for 5th as well, so that's another spot for him, or, well, one spot on the night, I believe, or he might just be back where he started. I don't really remember at this point with how many people have kind of passed back and forth in the midfield here. But,
Ooh, Kirchenbauer grabs the wall as he was trying to look at the high side of Vilashinsky. Looks to be unbothered by that hit. Dallara sure knows how to build them, don't they, Jacob?
yeah, it's certainly been something we've noticed. Initially, when this car had kind of made its way onto the iRacing service, it was made of paper mache, if you will, but iRacing decided to give it the tank treatment by and large. Obviously, it's not impervious to everything, but it does seem to take quite a beating as drivers kind of bang it off the wall here at New Hampshire.
Yeah, and now Kirchenbauer under the gun from Jesse Francisco. Francisco looking to the low side, looking to repeat what Vilashinsky did, but just doesn't have the momentum on entry. Kirchenbauer's going to get the drive off the corner. Looks like he tags the wall one more time, but it doesn't seem to slow down his momentum. As Vilashinsky now checking out from the Prodigy.
Yeah, Clay Kirchenbauer has made the pass on Ryan Brown now as well. It'll move Brown down to 7th. Brown seems to be really struggling on the old tires here. Maybe was just a bit too aggressive in the opening portions here. Use those Firestones up. You know, that it's something that we've seen a good bit more on these flatter tracks that we've seen throughout this season in particular. Drivers really wearing those Firestones out well before the closing of the race here, and that's the challenge that these drivers have to face, right? You just get one set of tires on the car, and in a green flag race, there's no reason or opportunity to pit and try to bail yourself out before the going gets really rough for you.
Yeah, and I just want to highlight that Dylan Vilashinsky has been slightly faster than Jarrett Corey on a couple of those laps, and he's broken away from the Prodigy. Yes, Francisco goes around Kirchenbauer, move Jesse Francisco into that final podium place spot as he has the inside line into turn number 4. I was going to highlight that Kirchenbauer's lap times seem to be dropping off. And right as I say that, Kirchenbauer grabs the wall again as they're still too wide off the corner.
Yeah, side by side heading into turn number 1. That's going to be Francisco working the low lane. He's going to clear off the corner here. Indy might have just made a bit too much contact with that outside wall, lost the momentum, lost his rhythm, if you will. It's going to fall to 4th here. That's going to put Francisco on the bottom step of the podium here as we're closing in on 7 to go.
Yeah, it could possibly be that the floor is damaged on that VRL number 2 machine of Kirchenbauer, as it seems that he is immediately dropping back off the gearbox of Francisco. So, looks to me like, unfortunately, with Vilashinsky eating a couple hundredths here, a couple hundredths there off of Jarrett Corey, that's going to be too little too late. So we will potentially, barring any shenanigans, see a new winner here in the Indy Oval Series.
Yeah, it'd be certainly a good thing to see. You know, that you always say that you got to respect dominance while it's there, because it's never going to last forever. And we've seen Vilashinsky falter once at Iowa this season. Looks like he may falter again here, come up just short. I mean, second place is nothing to sneeze at, especially given how competitive it's been at the front of the field here in Indy NXT Oval Series competition this season. We've got 5 laps to go, and Jarrett Corey's led all of them so far.
Yeah, 5 laps to go. Doesn't look like he will catch up much to lap traffic. He might be coming up on Nick Nibon again. But other than that, should be smooth sailing for the Luke Kamansky Esports machine with that yellow halo.
working through 3 and 4. He'll get to 3 to go this time, I do believe. 3 miles around New Hampshire here for Jarrett Corey. Over 3 seconds the gap back to Dylan Vilashinsky in second. Working off turn 2 here. Looks like we've got a battle for 5th as Clay Kirchenbauer has reeled back in Jason Goodman. They're battling each other pretty hard here late in the going, and we're going to see if Clay can mount a charge here heading off into 3 and 4. He'll work the high lane.
Yeah, I want to just highlight what a good run from Clay Kirchenbauer. He has had some pretty rotten luck early in the season. What a good run for him.
Yeah, he started 7th here. He's currently running 6th, so he's up 1. He was as low as 8th. He's going to have a bit of a struggle through 1 and 2 there, so he's not going to get a shot at Goodman here, but he's put together a solid race here tonight nonetheless in the number 7 machine. White flag in the air.
Yeah, white flag is in the air. Yeah, so one more lap for Jarrett Corey. He's coming up on Nick Nabon, but no pressure from behind. No immediate need to panic for the Luke Mansky Esports machine. He's just going to take the high line. Jarrett Corey will be your winner here at the Magic Mile.
Joins the club of only Andre Castro, I believe, is the winner in both the Indy NXT Road Series and Indy NXT Oval Series here live on P1 for the top split. Very, very pristine, or I guess coveted company, if you will, for him to be joining. Quite the season here for Jarrett Corey, as we've seen kind of week in and week out his dominance on the road courses, and he finally gets himself one here on the oval.
Yeah, it's good to see Jarrett getting the results in on the ovals for once, as he has had some rotten luck. Had an accident at Milwaukee that put him out in that race, but the pace has been there for Jarrett Corey, and today it paid off.
Now we'll get to the rest of the finishing results here as Jarrett opts to burn it down for us here from New Hampshire. And it will be Jarrett Corey, your winner here tonight, over Dylan Vilashinsky. 3.5 seconds the margin there. Jesse Francisco will round out our podium in 3rd. Indy Kirchenbauer will finish 4th. Jason Goodman rounds out the top 5 with Clay Kirchenbauer finishing 6th. Ryan A. Brown falls to 7th after starting in the 3rd row. Taylor Thurman will wind up 8th. John Corrin will be 9th, and Bryson Haw will round out the top 10. We've got Luke Reed in 11th, Bill Walker in 12th, Tyler McGee in 13th, Charles Shanks in 14th, the last car on the lead lap. Shane Holstein will be 15th, 1 down, Nick Neben 16th, 1 down, Caleb Leslie in 17th, and Derek Ingram, I don't think made it onto the track for the race here from New Hampshire this evening, but he'll round out our field in 18th.
Yeah, as we wait for our podium finishers to make their way into the interview room, just want to highlight what an amazingly clean race that was. No cautions, just like at the Auto Club Indy fixed oval race that just came before it. And if you're looking for more frantic, high-speed oval action, we have got you covered. We're going to have the nightcap on the nights. The Area 51 that league will be coming from Michigan just after this broadcast.
Nice round mileage numbers on the tracks all night tonight. 2 miles at Auto Club, 1 mile here in New Hampshire, and another 2 miler out in the Michigan International Speedway. Should be a great closer to a great night of open wheel oval racing. We're going to get some happy drivers on up here fairly shortly. We've got Jesse Francisco down in the waiting room. We'll get him on up here once we can tag his vehicle on the course. There's Mr. Francisco. Actually, roll the cameras back just a little bit further here. There we go. Get his car up on the screen here. And we'll get him on up here. Jesse, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcasting. You got us?
I got you. How's it going?
Pretty good. It sounds like you had yourself quite the race here tonight, kind of fighting for the podium all night long, able to capitalize on some mistakes from Indy Kirchenbauer to get on up here onto the bottom step here. Kind of walk us through your race here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, felt pretty good going into the race. Felt like I had some good pace. Just trying to stay patient through the first half for the most part. Trying not to use up my tires too much. For a while, I was battling to just even keep my spot in fourth. But as the race kind of progressed, started to get some pace back, and I felt good about it. Then yeah, getting to battle with Dylan and Indy those last 20 or so laps. That was definitely fun. Made me work for it.
Yeah, there's certainly the class of the field when it comes to the Indy NXT machine on the ovals in particular. So certainly a good one to get in there and get a fight with them here from New Hampshire. And we kind of talked a good little bit throughout the show of tire management coming into play late in the going. We saw drivers kind of struggle as the race progressed. To kind of walk us through maybe some of the things you did here tonight to work through a bit of that patience game to make sure you had some tire life to make your moves late in the going here.
Yeah, I think part of it was obviously understand that your car is going to change throughout the race. Obviously, it's not going to handle as good. You're going to understeer a lot more later in the run. So making sure you're on top of the bars is big. Another thing is I actually started started dragging the brake a little bit, just to get a little bit extra rotation on the entry of the corner. That tended to help me. And just being patient, finding clean air when you can get it, and see what plays out.
Yeah, certainly a mark of a quality run when you can kind of find yourself figuring out the car and how it's going to evolve over the course of the race, keeping that in the back of your head each and every lap. Sophie, what do you got for Jesse here tonight?
Yeah, well, Jesse, you were talking about how you were dragging the brake towards the end of the race to get a little extra rotation. Were you also finding that you were up on the in-car tools or doing anything? Because it seemed like you said you were struggling to hold on to fourth place, coming into pressure from people like Ryan Brown. But then towards the end, you were one of the quickest cars on track, able to track down and pass Indy Kirkwood and potentially even put some pressure on Vilashinsky.
Yeah, obviously, like you said, kind of using your tools, making sure you're using them wisely. I kind of found that like I was all the way forward on the bars pretty quickly into the run, just to keep that pace going. And then obviously, since I started using the brake, started using a little bit of bias. Just making sure that was in a comfortable spot for me. But yeah, like I said, it's good to be out here with you guys and really enjoyed it.
Well, quality finish for you here tonight, moving up one spot, but taking the whole race to get there. It feels like a mountain to climb, but once you get there, it feels all the sweeter. So, friends, family, sponsors, anybody you want to shout out? Jesse, floor is yours.
Big shout out to you guys. Put on a great broadcast. I actually saw you guys' broadcast a couple weeks ago and figured I'd try to hop in and make one of these SOF sessions. So thank you to you guys, and yeah, really enjoying it.
Well, thank you for coming on out here, Jesse. We'll hopefully catch you next week as we're taking on North Wilkesboro.
That should be a fun one. I was trying to make it.
Sounds good, Jesse. You go celebrate here tonight.
I appreciate it.
That'll do it for third place finisher Jesse Francisco. We'll get uncommon sighting Dylan Vilashinsky finishing second. We'll get him on up here, see what he has to say. Dylan, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcasting. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, this is kind of an uncommon sight for us. This is a second place finish for you here on the top split for Indy NXT Oval Series competition. Kind of walk us through the tumultuous race you had. You know, we saw you clock the outside wall off turn 4 a couple times, lose the spot to Indy Kirchenbauer here, and was ultimately able to capitalize on a mistake from Indy late in the going to make it back up here. But tough race for you. Walk us through it.
I lost it in qualifying when I didn't get pole. It's so hard to pass the leader here because of the dirty air, even on the fresh tires. Like, you really have to wait for the tires to wear out and the track to rubber it towards the late stages of the race to be able to try and make moves so you can move around and stuff. So I was hoping to try and just stay with him, stay with Jarrett up until the end of the race. Maybe I'd have a shot later. But then Indy was just on me the whole time, and I wasted all that time fighting him. By the time I was finally able to get back by him, I just didn't have enough time to get up to Jarrett. Really, yeah. A yellow would have been nice, but
yeah, we kind of saw you in Indy fighting kind of tooth and nail for every little inch you could find in the opening stages there. We thought that might play a factor kind of when both of you started making contact with that turn 4 wall throughout the later stages of the going here. Kind of walk us through what it was like to have to battle that hard where you're kind of managing not only the cars around you, but the track itself to some extent to keep it out of the walls here.
It's tough because you're trying to get by the car in front of you, but then you're watching the guys behind you slowly kind of catch up. So you're trying to be very careful with your moves because you don't want to make a move that doesn't work and then it leaves you vulnerable to the guy behind. And then coming off the wall, or coming off the corners in turn 4, if you crossed over the dirty air of the car in front of you, you would pick up just a little bit of understeer that would try and throw you at the wall every time. So you have to be like super careful to not overdrive it.
Yeah.
Every time I was hitting that wall, I'd be hitting the spotter button to see if I got any damage. And every time it said I was good, so I was like, okay, we'll keep going.
Yeah, certainly some close calls nonetheless, especially as you kind of lose your rhythm, lose your momentum. That becomes all the bigger struggle. Sophie, what do you got for Dylan tonight?
I was going to say, Dylan, with all those wall contacts and that mistake early that let Indy Kirchenbauer by, how did you mentally reset, kind of refocus, and build that momentum back up? Anything you were telling yourself, or how are you handling that?
I just kept trying different stuff into the entry into turn 1 and 2, because that's where I was slower than him for most laps. As the track kind of rubbered up and like got a little bit more slick, I was able to try and not diamond, but like get later apexes into turn 2 and like run lower to stay out of his dirty air and try to keep up with him. So once I found something that seemed like it was working, I just kind of stuck with that until let me get up to him.
Well, despite a tough way to get up back to second here tonight, ultimately a solid finish for you as you continue your bid for the title. Not a bad way to do it here, even if the win's what you're always looking for each and every week. Friends, family, sponsors, Dylan, you know the drill.
Yep. As usual, shout out to Get Good Racing and shout out to the Sprint Car Cup. They run 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday.
Well, thank you once again, Dylan, for being out here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the top split here. We'll catch you next week from North Wilkesboro.
Sounds good. Have a good night, guys.
That'll do it for second place finisher Dylan Vilashinsky, and I think we're going to have a very excited Jarrett Corey here picking up the oval win here as he's got his car slowly working to the start-finish line here. Jarrett Corey, Jacob Collins, Sophie Connell, P1 Broadcasting. You got us?
Yep.
Well, we've got your car starting the celebration sequence here as it rolls past the start-finish line here. Certainly something that I think you were hoping for at one time or another, but this certainly seemed like quite a magic moment here from the Magic Mile for you.
Yep. I've been sort of aiming for a oval broadcast win for a bit. I just kind of, knowing that Andre Castro is the only ever driver to have won both, I believe. Like, I want to be in that company with him as a winner in both series. So I was really aiming for it, and I feel like I've been getting better at this car, getting better. Like, just sort of it just wasn't fully coming together. Like, there were some races where I qualified up front but kind of didn't stay there, or some races where, like the USA International in Milwaukee, I think if I could qualify, I could have won those races just on my race speed. But I mean, qualifying is part of it, so I just wasn't putting it together, and like finally I put together a full lap. I mean, I don't even know how many times I've started P2. I mean, I think Motegi, Phoenix, Iowa at the top of my head, I think I've qualified P2. So finally, like, one better, and from there, I mean, it's just kind of just stay up front, really. And like, the dirty air seemed really bad. Like, I was talking to Dylan after race. It was like, he said it was pretty bad, and I was behind him in the pre-broadcast, so I got a sort of taste of that dirty air, and it's definitely a lot less packy than I was sort of expecting. You're definitely lifting a lot more. I think realistically what I said about being flat out, it's like fresh tires on the top of the track, or like if you're on the bottom, like, and your tires are like perfectly up to temperature and haven't started wearing too much yet. But I mean, I was pretty much lifting the whole race, I think. And the draft wasn't super strong, so it stuck with me for a bit, and then eventually I just sort of broke it and kept pulling away because I feel like they might have burned up their tires, especially the fronts, more than I did. And from there, it's just keep doing what I've been doing, navigate that lap traffic, and it's a victory lane.
Yeah, as they say, the race starts at the beginning, and the beginning of the race really is kind of determined in qualifying here on the ovals. And, you know, you talked about having to manage lap traffic here, and this is kind of the first time in a little while here we've had a proper long green flag run. Obviously, all 55 laps run under green, so we got to encounter kind of organic lap traffic here as we had almost a full field here from New Hampshire. Kind of walk us through maybe some of the slight givings you may give to some of those cars deeper in the field as you're not quite certain where they're going to go once you get to them?
Yeah, just give them extra room. I mean, it's a lot easier when you have a pretty big lead built up because I can sort of afford to like just give me a little bit extra room, like maybe lose a little bit of time, but just get around them cleanly because that's all that's important. It also helps that I think one of those lap cars was Nick Nebben, and I know he's like Nebon 5. I trust him to not do anything completely stupid. So, I mean, that always helps when you know the person you're lapping. And they just unfortunately had a bad race, but like, they're not going to do something stupid and sort of be a nuisance or do anything unpredictable.
Yeah, certainly traffic management plays a big factor when you catch up to them, and it's always good to know when you've got trustworthy drivers ahead of you that you can kind of rely on to navigate cleanly around them. Sophie, what do you got for Jarrett here tonight?
I was going to say, Jarrett, it seemed like you were, once again, except this time on an oval, all by yourself out front. How did you maintain your focus here at a track where you're pretty much flat the entire lap and you need to really hit your line? How did you maintain your focus and ultimately maintain your gap to Wilesinski and Kirchenbauer and Francisco?
I think a lot of it's just like when I'm sort of leading, I feel like I turn into a different driver a lot of the times, especially once I get into that groove. Like if I can get into that groove while I'm leading, like I get a pretty good sort of focus and like I can just hit my marks perfectly every time. There's some exceptions, but usually I do. And when I find that rhythm, I mean, it's hard to break it. And so a lot of the race, I was just sort of hoping no yellows, because, I mean, first of all, I have that gap built up. But on top of that, I don't want to have to rebuild this rhythm because who knows, it might be harder to get it back the second time.
Well, unbroken was the rhythm for you here tonight. Well, I think we have to touch on the comments you were making pre-race where it was saying that maybe this is why you suck, and I don't think you suck, Jarrett. You pulled out the win over some of the most dominant competition we've had in the Indy NXT, particularly on the ovals, with Dylan Wilesinski finishing right behind you here tonight. But you know the drill. Friends, family, sponsors, floor is yours.
Yeah, Luke Mansky, Racing Esports, Lilac City IT, iCoaching, and iPredictor. I finally remembered the sponsors exist. Yeah, that's all I got. P1 Broadcasting as well, or giving a broadcast to the series.
Well, thank you, Jarrett, for turning out each and every week, especially on the road courses. We'll hopefully catch you next week on the Oval Series at North Wilkesboro, but I'm sure we'll catch you from potentially a wet road Atlanta for the road series.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be skipping North Wilkesboro, but then I'm going to be doing the two after that, and then probably not Pocono for the ovals, and then I'm actually not that sure on what I'm doing off-road, but I'm definitely going to be there next week for Road Atlanta.
Well, we'll certainly be looking forward to another appearance of the Jarrett Cory Show on Monday night. Go celebrate with your team here, Jarrett. Good win tonight.
Thanks. I'll see you.
That'll do it for Jarrett Cory. And Sophie, we had ourselves quite the race throughout the field despite the Jarrett Cory Show rolling onto an oval.
Yeah, for sure, Jacob. We had an amazing battle between Dylan Wilesinski, Indy Kirchenbauer, and Jesse Francisco, ultimately decided by who was able to best preserve their Firestone tires and ultimately keep their IL-15 out of the wall. And really, when you have an amazing 55-lap high-speed oval race in the Indy NXT, I can't think of anything better to spend your evening watching. Can you, Jacob?
Well, I think if we do it all over again next week, we could get ourselves a 2-for-1 special. We'll be back tomorrow night. Actually, we've got one more race left tonight with Area 51 from Michigan. That'll start shortly, I believe relatively soon. It's within the hour, I believe, for that one. Tomorrow night, me and Sophie will be back for the first round of the Formula Super Series. That'll be at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, alongside Mark Murphy on the call for the Horizon INDYCAR Series from Portland at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then we'll be back Monday night for our typical coverage of the INDYCAR Open Series. They'll be taking on Iowa, and we'll be back with Indy NXT Road Series competition from Road Atlanta. Want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Indy NXT Oval Series here from New Hampshire. Want to thank Whiplash Simcams for providing the cameras here that we used for our coverage here tonight. Like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube stuff. We had so much action going on track. We didn't plug the YouTube stuff quite as good as we normally do, but it's always better to have the on-track action doing the talking for us and giving us a reason to have everybody coming back each and every week here on P1 Broadcasting. And to all those that do the difficult jobs all around the world, we thank you very, very much for doing those things and letting us bring you all the fun stuff that we do on P1 Broadcasting, like Indy NXT Series action. Have a good night, everybody. We will catch you next time.